I am making you a video on how to use your kefir grains. So I have just finished straining off my kefir grains to bottle them in bottles where they're going to sit for a couple of days for the second ferment. So now I have these grains that I'm going to make a new batch, or if you're making a new batch for the first time, you're going to follow the same procedure. So zoom in a little bit, Sarah, and let's look at what the grains look like. These are water kefir grains. They are a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. They provide probiotics, enzymes, and a lot of goodness for your body. If you want to know the benefits of drinking kefir water, you can study online the benefits of probiotics, enzymes. They improve your digestive function. They improve immune function. There's a lot of benefits, so it's worth reading up on that if you want to know why you would even include this in your diet. But this is the starting point, whether you're doing it for the first time or whether you've just strained off a batch and you're starting over. So I take these grains, they've just been drained of all the sugar water, or the brown sugar water, which I've put in here. If your kefir grains have come in like brown sugar water, you just want to strain that off. Make sure that they are at room temperature if they've been in the fridge. And I'm just going to put them in my bowl. Okay, and so this, remember, this is a strainer that I got at Cal Ranch that's used for straining milk. I rinse them out and use them over and over. You can also use a coffee filter or just some cheesecloth as a strainer. So I've got the kefir grains in my jar. Now I need to feed them because they are alive, and I need to keep them alive and healthy. And I'm going to feed them with just regular brown sugar, and you want to add an equal amount of sugar for grains. So if I look in here, I estimate that I have maybe a half a cup or a little bit more of the grains. So I'm going to add an equal amount of brown sugar. And you can just eyeball it. It doesn't have to be exact. You don't want to add too much or they won't be able to consume all the sugar in a couple days. You don't want to add too little or you could starve them, but you can just eyeball it, and that looks like about equal amounts. And then I'm going to fill this up with tap water. So pause it just for a second while So I filled up my jar with tap water. I'm on a well, and so my tap water isn't contaminated with any additives that a city or municipal source might add. There's no chlorine in it, there's nothing else added. If you are on a city water system and there's anything added to your water, you don't want to use that on your grains, because something in the water could potentially kill the healthy strains of bacteria and yeast, especially if you've got chlorine or anything like that added. So I'm just adding well water that I know is pure and clean and doesn't have anything added. And I've got my brown sugar water in there. I'm going to shake it up a little bit just to make sure it dissolves. And I'm just going to let this sit on my counter for about 2 days. And after about 2 days, I'm going to start checking it to see if it's ready. And one of the things I'm going to check for is the color. The color will change a little bit as the grains consume the minerals and the brown sugar. And the smell will change. It doesn't smell like sugar water when it's ready because it's not sugar water anymore. Those grains will have consumed all of that sugar, and you've got a probiotic, enzyme-rich beverage when it's ready. I'm going to leave the lid a little bit loose because it's going to produce some gases, and in this stage I need those gases to be able to escape. So I'm going to put the lid on loosely. You don't even have to put a lid on it. You could put like a paper towel over it with a rubber band. So for this stage, you don't want airtight. For the second stage, which we talk about a little later, you do want it to be airtight because you want to trap in those gases to create natural carbonation. But for this stage, just a light lid, and it's going to sit on the counter for 2 days. Okay, so this has been sitting for about 2 days. I can tell that it's ready because the color has changed a little bit. It's gotten more yellow. It's not as brown as it was because the bacteria and yeast have been consuming the brown sugar. And when I smell it, it smells a little bit yeasty, but pleasantly sour. So it's definitely not the brown sugar water that we started out with. And you notice that some of the grains are floating, and you might see some bubbles going up. Those are all good signs because that just shows that your grains are healthy and that those are signs of life. So now we're gonna bottle it. So what I have is a canning funnel, a smaller funnel, a measuring cup to measure my juice concentrate, and a milk filter. And you can get these milk filters at Cal Ranch. They're used for filtering milk. Or you can use cheesecloth that you just get at the grocery store, or like a coffee filter. So I'm going to take my bottles. These are bottles used for brewing. So they are flip top bottles that have an airtight lid, if you'll see that. You want airtight for this stage because that's how it builds up the carbonation. So all I'm going to do is just fit my little filter in here, and I'm going to fill these bottles up with this liquid. Without making a mess. And you don't want to fill it all the way full. So I'm just going to fill the bottles about here. And these bottles are 32-ounce bottles, and I bought them online through Amazon. I started out with 16-ounce bottles, and they proved not big enough. So if you're going to buy bottles, I would recommend investing in the 32-ounce bottles from the beginning. Okay, so this is where you add your flavor. My favorite thing to do is just add some plain juice concentrate. This flavor is apple, kiwi, strawberry. Our favorite is berry blend. So Walmart happened to be out of berry blend this time. So I'm using apple, kiwi, strawberry. And for a 32-ounce bottle, I add about 1/3 of a cup of just straight unreconstituted juice, just right out of the carton. And then you'll see that this takes that a little higher, but it's still not to the top. So this is just more fruit concentrate that I've added to a jar. Whoa. There you go. Now, I can add a little bit more kefir just to bring it up into the neck of the bottle. There you go. So then I'm just going to seal these, and these will sit on my counter for the next 2 days or so. The bacteria and yeast in the kefir water will consume the sugars in the fruit juice concentrate, and the byproduct will be more probiotics, more enzymes, and natural carbonation. So in about 2 days, these will be quite bubbly, and I'm gonna burp them every 24 hours. So every 24 hours, I'm gonna come and just pop the lid open and check to see if it's ready. I know it's ready when bubbles aggressively rush to the top, and sometimes you'll see a little puff of kind of smoke vapor that just shows how much gas has been built up. You want to burp them every 24 hours, or they will build up so much pressure that they can explode, or they'll bubble over when you open them. So just burp them 24 hours, every 24 hours, and after 2 or 3 days, they'll be to the right level of carbonation, and that's when you put them in the fridge and you enjoy them.